Well, are middle-class Americans becoming an endangered species? 1 out of every 6 Americans are in government anti-poverty programs. More than 50 million are in Medicaid, 40 million receive food stamps, and 10 million receive unemployment benefits. The prospects for a speedy recovery from the Great Recession appear dim. Now, President Obama has argued that his administration made the right decisions to move the country forward. He told ABC's George Stephanopoulos Wednesday that he is going to keep working at it till he gets it right.
Our options are limited. I mean, the fact of the matter is that when we came in, the day I was sworn in, we were losing 800,000 jobs a month. The next month, 600,000. The month after that, 600,000. And across the political spectrum, what people said we had to do was make sure we don't have a complete financial meltdown and make sure that we prevent this economy from going into a deep depression. We succeeded in doing that. The economy is now growing, and for 8 consecutive months we've added jobs. Now, I am somebody who tends to not have a lot of pride of authorship. If people out there had a whole host of ideas that would allow us to accelerate this job growth faster and put more people to work faster, I would be happy to steal ideas from anybody, Republican, Independent, or Democrat. Part of the challenge we've got is that we are working through a very difficult time, and are there ways that I potentially could have explained the circumstances of our situation better, communicated those more effectively? I'm sure that there are. And, you know, I'm going to keep on working at it till I get it right.
Well, our next guest might argue otherwise. One of her recent columns is called Memo to America's Middle Class, Obama's Just Not That Into You. Arianna Huffington is the co-founder and editor-in-chief of the Huffington Post, author of 13 books. Her latest is called Third World America, How Our Politicians Are Abandoning the Middle Class and Betraying the American Dream. Arianna Huffington joins us here in New York. Welcome to Democracy Now!
It's great to be here in your new days.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you. Third World America. Why Third World America?
I deliberately chose a title that is very jarring. You know, we don't associate America with the third world. But I chose it because I really believe that we are on this trajectory where the middle class is crumbling. And the middle class is the foundation not just of American prosperity, but American democracy and democratic stability. And what I was seeing, since Cassandra has always been my favorite heroine growing up in Greece, is that there isn't the sense of urgency that is needed if we really believe this was happening. And so by using that title, Third World America, and by providing the data and the stories to back it up, I'm hoping that we will bring that sense of urgency that, as you saw from the interview with the president, is missing. You know, it was a sense of urgency that everybody had that famous weekend when they saved Wall Street. You know, when everybody, all the establishments, political, financial, Democratic, Republican, came together and they said, we simply cannot afford to allow the financial system to collapse. We don't exactly know what will save it, but we'll throw everything against the wall because we can't afford that. That has been completely missing. You know, we've had endless conversations about jobs are a priority, jobs will be our focus, but it's not really happening. The president asked for all ideas. You know, we've all been screaming many ideas, you know, Republican, Democrats, you know, from the payroll tax holiday to a really serious infrastructure jobs program, to a green bank, to an infrastructure bank, to tax credits for small businesses. You know, the ideas are out there. What is missing is that sense of urgency and the political will.
Well, you talk especially about the inability so far of the administration to craft solutions to, for instance, the foreclosure crisis that to really help the millions of Americans that are facing foreclosure. Why do you think it's been so difficult to have that same kind of urgency for unemployment, for the housing crisis, as they have had for solving the bank meltdown?
Well, I'm so glad you brought up foreclosures, because it kind of sums up everything. The fact that the cram-down amendment that Dick Durbin, Senator Durbin, was shepherding through the Senate, the fact that that amendment failed which would have allowed over 1 million families to stay in their homes, simply by being able to negotiate, to have a loan modification. That tells you everything you want to know about how broken our system is. That was after the banks had wrecked the economy, after they had been bailed out by taxpayers. They still had the power to kill this amendment. And also, I say in the book, how is that even in their own interests? You know, how many millions of homes do banks want to own? And what are they going to do with them? Especially as we know that property values immediately go down. All the surrounding properties suffer when a home is foreclosed, not to mention what it does to families. You know, all the stories, the heartrending stories that I write about of families moving with school children in motels or with grandparents, with the latest Pew numbers yesterday about how many children are now being brought up by grandparents, in homeless shelters. This is like a kind of a gateway calamity that affects everything.
And yet this is, you wrote Pigs at the Trough, that was under the Bush years. This is the Obama years, and you're writing Third World America.
Well, that's why in Section 5, which is really for me the most important section of the book, because it's about solutions, and you know, we can sit here and go through the first 4 sections of the diagnosis of the problem and what's wrong, but in the end, I feel we need to recognize that we need to move from hope to Hope 2.0. And Hope 2.0 is about us. It's about what people can do, what communities can do. Of course, we're going to keep calling on the government to do the right thing. But right now, we have to just change the wind, because politicians will keep putting their fingers up and see which way it's blowing, and it has to be blowing in a different direction. And so I really feel that it starts with a lot of very personal decisions, and a lot of them are not political. They have to do with tapping into our own strength and resilience, because I see from the people I talk to how many are crushed by the loss of a job, the loss of a home, and how others find that resilience in them and not only survive, but manage to rebuild their lives in an even deeper way. I mean, I write about Brenda Carter, who lost her job after 13 years in HR. And, you know, she had to just literally collect all her belongings from her. And I remember my editor said, we have to cut 20,000 words. Let's cut all this thing about what exactly she took out of her office, her plants, her pictures. We don't really need that. I said, no, we do need that, because everybody understands that. You know, you've built your life. You have your little office, and you have everything there, and suddenly you have to take it all down after 13 years. She filed hundreds of job applications. She never got another job. So what did she do? She started cooking praline candy and selling them first door-to-door, then online. She got a real estate license. She improved her tech ability. So she's rebuilding her life after months of depression. So that's like key, to not let ourselves be defeated by what's happening.
Well, let me ask you about this Hope 2.0, because it seems to me that part of the problem is that so many of the popular movement activists who had Hope 1.0 and who, when Obama came into government, either one became part of the, you know, got appointments in the administration, or even worse, I think, became sort of targets by the administration whenever they were raising too much of a ruckus. They were called in and by the administration that gave them access, whether it's the immigration rights advocates, whether it's the labor unions, and basically said, hey, you're not helping our situation to get reform. So they've in essence been disarmed. The activists have been either co-opted, or increasingly the administration becomes the brake on their ability to mobilize a popular movement. What can be done about that?
Well, first of all, I can understand the reluctance to criticize when the alternative is John Boehner as Speaker, or Sarah Palin as President. I mean, obviously, I don't share the reluctance, and it hasn't stopped me or you from calling things as we see them. But I can understand that. Do we really want to hand the country back to the Republicans? Do we really want to hand the country to those whose only solution is to prolong all the tax cuts, including to the richest Americans, et cetera, et cetera. But what is happening right now is that we really need to put that aside and just rebuild a grassroots movement and also look at what we're doing in our own lives, right down to how do we build our own financial literacy. You know, many people really go into these mortgages, go into these credit cards without a full understanding of the tricks and traps